What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 2, Bark After Dark, man. Back at it again. Love to see it. We're loving what we're seeing here. Thank you for those of you who are turning in for the first time. Those of you returning for the second time. We're glad we didn't scare you off last time. It was, as I said, an exercise in self-indulgence. But
big time.
Hey, it went over pretty well. And tonight we actually got somebody to talk to other than just the two of us sitting here.
Somebody interesting.
Yeah, making fools of ourselves.
Yeah.
You don't have to listen to us just opine on our random nature. Although we will keep that segment. We're going to do one of those, I think, each week, a little something. So I'm interested to see what you got for me this week, bro.
Couple thousand people tuned into the last one, all up overall, and I just want to tell everybody who did. It wasn't for you. That was for us.
Yeah,
that was Jake. That was Jake and Jake just having a meeting in the conference room at the law firm, and that's just kind of what we did. But I need to ask you, what you drinking? What we got? What we drinking tonight?
What you drinking tonight, man? I got a pickle jar full of vodka this evening because I'm
moonshine.
The wagon in a big way. No, actually,
why the hell are you drinking out of a pickle jar?
Listen, I'm a repurposer, man. I'm a guy who look, it's free. It's a free glass jar. This is just some water. I told you before we got started, which is not something you've ever heard from me a lot over the course of our friendship. Sometimes the body tells you just need to maybe take a little step back for a couple days. I've skipped the last couple of days of booze. No nicotine in the last couple of days. Everybody in the McKaysville metro area is still alive, so that's good. That's good to know.
Yeah, I am also dry tonight. Friday night, I just got a reminder that I'm getting old. Friday night, Saturday morning, I got a reminder that I'm almost 40 years old, and I need to act like it. And all I did was have a few drinks here at the house, but I'm gonna take it easy too. Cook Brenner for the family tonight. Little bacon, little Kaneka sausage, and some eggs and grits on the. Didn't cook the grits on the Blackstone, but I cooked everything else on it, and it was awesome. It was awesome. So I've got a full belly, and probably within. You could probably count the time in seconds that when this show is over, my eyes are going to be closed.
Kaneka is a superior product.
Oh, it's so good, man. It is so good. Like everybody was just like blowing it up about how great it was. And the only thing I'd ever had was like the smaller ones, like the thinner sausage. And those are good, but the bigger ones, the ones you can turn like into a sausage dog or whatever, those are incredible.
Yeah,
but it has been a full day over at DawgsHQ. Because, we reported some stuff on Todd Monkin. Basically, Todd Monkin, Ravens job. Don't want to give it all away. Come on over to DawgsHQ and see what we got going on. But basically, I think Mike Bobo is going to have a great chance to get the job if Todd Monkin does leave Georgia. And we've got all the intel on what we think is going to happen there. But, man, you want to talk about a thread on all-timer over at DawgsHQ. It's nearing 200. 5 pages. I know some people probably over at the junkyard and over at the dog vent, and you're like, oh, God, this happens all the time. Well, it doesn't at the dog walk. Not yet. It doesn't happen very often there. It's getting there, and we're glad to have our first long thread. But Mike Bobo, man, we were talking about it. There was a picture that you were going to put on the background, and it had Brandon Sutherland in it. And I was like, oh, man. They'll love that. That'll be a good backdrop to talk about Mike.
Do you know about Nick Davis Field's Brandon Sutherland story?
I do not.
Oh man, he once accused Brandon Sutherland of not being Brandon Sutherland.
Oh wow!
And Brandon Sutherland was like, "No, I'm him," and he was like, "Yeah, bullshit."
Where did this take place?
I believe it was at Max Canada.
Yeah, I don't know why I thought that, but I really did have Max Canada in my head. What is Max Canada now? Do you know? You don't even live around here.
Called Paloma Park.
Oh, terrible. Max Canada was a fun place. But I watched the Braves lose a fair share of ball games with my man Zach Thrower over there drinking Natty Light out of pitchers.
Makes me think of Zach Thrower, man.
And when I say we drank Natty Light out of pitchers, we drank it straight out of the pitcher. Like, we didn't pour it into a cup. We just ordered our own and drank out of the pitcher a couple times. And it was a lot of fun. But
no, I mean, I get it. That's a big story for sure, and it's something that everybody's been wringing their hands over. Like you said, we don't want to give too much away, but I mean, you thinking Todd Monkin?
I don't know. I don't know if he's going to get offered the job.
It kind of right. I mean, like, to me, if I'm the Ravens and Eric Bieniemy will take this job, that's the guy I hire.
Yeah,
they won the Super Bowl, for God's sake.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of on the info end, man, and this is something I'm interested to bring up because we got Ross Dellenger coming on tonight. He says he's coming on. We'll see if he's a man of his word. If he's not, we will tar and feather him in the town square tonight. But we'll talk to him about this. But man, so often when you're talking about trying to share inside info and trying to give the people what they pay for, you're beholden to somebody else's decision. And that decision in this case is probably, I mean, it's twofold, really. It's John Harbaugh and company deciding to offer the job to Todd Monkin. If they do that, I don't get the impression that he's just number one on their list, even going into whoever they've got to talk to this week. But then Todd Monkin making a decision, and you're just trying to give the best information you can. And in a day and age where stuff breaks on Twitter in a moment and people break their own stories, it's just I feel like timeline reporting, like, hey, let's just listen, we walked you through this. And I think that's the best way you can do it. Breaking news means less and less. But having a chance to go timeline and tell people about it is a bigger deal. And to me, that's what we're trying to do here with this Todd Monkin thing. Good news. I believe Ross is with us already.
He is. Yeah, we should probably.
We hadn't even had a chance to talk about the Super Bowl yet, so we'll talk about it with him.
Yeah, we'll talk about it with him. Assuming he's ready to go, we're just going to throw him into the Wolves and see if this works. Should be noted, Palmer or Wes is not handling production duties.
Oh yeah,
I am, and I don't really know what the hell I'm doing. So let's see how this goes. All right, there's the man right there.
What's up, Ross? What's going on, dude?
Hey guys, how are y'all?
Man, your sound's awesome.
Good.
Man.
Good deal.
Yeah, you sound
AirPods.
great.
How about that?
Are you so where are you in your world travels right now? Are you in DC?
Yeah, I'm home. I'm home in DC. I actually got a little time off of work travel and doing some play travel. So I just got in from a ski trip last night, so that was cool. But I'm at home for a little while, hopefully.
Where'd you go skiing?
So it's a place called Snowshoe Mountain, West Virginia, about 4.5-hour drive west of DC.
Cool. And did the wife get a chance to join along, or did she have those super important White House duties?
Well, she did come, but she's not a skier, so she stayed in the condo and did some shopping and did some drinking and all that stuff while me and some friends hit the slopes. She tried skiing last year. We did ski school, and I made it through school with flying colors, and she let's just say she failed out.
Well, I mean, it's part of being an athlete, I guess. I mean, I'll tell you this. Last time I went skiing, my best buddy comes down the mountain and he just looks at me and I'm like, dude, what's wrong with your face? And he's got like a blue line across his nose where he had broken his nose and it was all swollen up and everything. And I was like, all right, I'm turning in these skis and I'm going to sit in front of that fire and drink some beer. And then I may go out there if I get loaded enough, I might go out there and hit the bunny slope on a tube and have some fun that way. But it's not my thing.
It can be dangerous.
Well, Ross you're a deep South guy, man. I mean, you're from Louisiana. You went to school in the state. Not a lot of great skiing in the Bayou State.
No. In fact, the first time I ever skied was last March in West Virginia. So that was my first time I did the ski school then. But yeah, I did not grow up doing a whole lot of skiing. Didn't grow up going to the mountains and stuff like that. So this is all new to me, but I'll tell you, man, I don't know. I've been kind of like falling for the activity. It's fun. It can be a little dangerous. You got to kind of know what slope that your I guess your level. Got to know your level and what slope not to go on. But it's a lot of fun.
What did you think about the Super Bowl last night? Are you one of these people kind of real upset about the call there at the end of the game? Do you feel like do you feel robbed?
Well, I don't feel robbed, probably because I didn't bet on the game. I made sure not to bet on the game. I bet on like one of the rounds. I don't remember which round I bet on, but I didn't win. And I think that I bet on the Chiefs in the maybe in the divisional round, and whoever they were playing kicked a field goal to completely ruin the cover, and I was like, you know what, I'm not betting again. So I didn't feel robbed at all. But I will say that I mean the holding call was pretty light, and I think in a lot of cases that probably gets let go and not called. However, the Eagles had it in the bag. I mean, they outplayed them for most of 3 quarters or so, and uh, they should have won the football game, call or not. They didn't play good enough defense in the second half, and obviously Patrick Mahomes did his thing, which was incredible to watch. A guy on a foot and a half or so do what he did.
Yeah, for sure. What any guys you cover in that game? Any guys that you remember covering heavily playing in that game?
Devontae Smith,
Oh,
actually, yeah,
Yeah.
from the Eagles. Yep. In fact, I remember doing a story on him after he made the catch, the second and 23 catch. I'm
Yeah.
sure a lot of your listeners
Yeah,
don't
everybody's thrilled
really
with
want to hear about. Yeah.
Dream, Ross.
Thanks, Ross, for
Yes,
turning the channel.
yes. But I remember going to his hometown, which was he's from Louisiana, and
How do you say
went to his
the
hometown.
place?
What's that?
How do you say the name of that
Um,
place? Is
where,
it
what, I
Inlet or
forget.
Am?
Well, forget what it's called. Wait, what is it?
Is it Amite or Amite?
A meat. A
Amite.
meat. A meat is how you say. Yep.
I've
A
never
meat.
really known, to be honest with you.
Yep.
I've been there as well, and I've never known how to say it.
It's a meat. Which oddly enough, the Louisiana governor, who my wife knows well, just from covering stuff there, he's from that town as well. But I remember, visiting there a few years ago, and visiting his family and their home and everything. And it's crazy to see, obviously, what he's doing now. For so long, he was only known as the guy who caught that touchdown pass, and man, he made some great catches last night, including one that probably, was reviewed and then overturned. I still don't exactly know what a catch is, but these days,
None of us do.
nor do I know what targeting is either.
He had a crazy one in the NFC Championship game that he got up and he was like, let's go. I didn't catch it, and got him to the line. I mean, he's an incredible football player. He's one of my favorites. Him and Jalen Hurts both. And I know I'm probably more Georgia fans are turning this thing off because they're like, hey, this guy's such a big fan of these Alabama folks. But Jalen Hurts is awesome, man. It was so cool to see him. Like, Alabama fans, they just cast him aside so quickly when Tua came along, and then he comes back and, to know how good of a kid he is, and he leads Georgia back in the SEC championship game, and then to be able to kind of do what he's done thus far. I do want to ask you one thing, though, about some news you broke last week, because that's basically what you do now. Ross Dellenger, the newsbreaker. You broke the story about the SEC thing. What's crazy about that, Ross, and I don't know what you were hearing. I thought that when they announced, I thought right around the time that they said that they weren't going to be able to come in 24, that they were going to say they were going to be able. That's what I was hearing, is like, hey, this could come as early as this week. And then as soon as they announced it, got a text, hey, I think some folks are posturing. So what can you share about kind of how all that went down, like timeline wise?
Yeah, it's been a wild few weeks and months kind of covering this take you through things a little bit. I think it goes all the way back to October. So in October, the Big 12 presidents met, and Oklahoma and Texas presidents, I think, made pretty clear that they wanted to be out of the league a year early. And part of that was because of the 4 new members, Houston, Cincinnati, UCF, and BYU, were coming in a year earlier than expected. So they were going to have to play them not only once, but twice, both in 24 or 23 and 24. And they didn't like that much. That did not go over well in Austin and in Norman. So that kind of started the ball rolling. I think in early December in Las Vegas at the Football Foundation event, the Big 12 ADs had meetings. And it was pretty much determined there by that they were out, and they agreed, the Big 12 and the Big 12 legacy members, the 8 members in Texas and Oklahoma, kind of agreed, I think then, that they'd be out early. There were some reports. I kind of held the news stupidly, but there were some reports that followed the event that suggested that that's what happened, and that is what happened at those meetings in Vegas. And so that was early December. So from early December to early February or so, about 2 weeks ago, as you mentioned, or a week and a half ago, we had the news from ESPN and I think The Athletic as well that talks were basically dead. And all that week, that came out on a Friday. All that week, I had been kind of digging on this story to write kind of an explainer of the situation of what was going on. And while I did get from people that they were hitting snags, the 2 networks, Fox and ESPN, were hitting kind of some issues, some roadblocks in getting to an agreement, because there was a lot of parties here. It wasn't just the Big 12 and the SEC and the Big 12 legacy members in Texas and Oklahoma. It was Fox and ESPN as well. So while I did understand that they had some issues, I did not at all think that talks were dead. And I think you nailed it. I think there was some posturing and some purposeful leaking of information that came out there to put pressure on certain parties, probably one being Fox. They were the one party in all of this, Fox was, that really this didn't benefit in any way, because they were losing Texas and Oklahoma for the 2024 season, and ESPN had exclusive rights to the SEC and had first pick of the 2024 season in the Big 12. So they were going to get them either way. So I think there was a purposeful leak, and I, like you, within a couple hours of that report, it was made pretty clear to me by some people in the SEC and in the Big 12 that talks were not dead, and that this happens all the time in negotiations where you have purposeful leaks, you have parties that kind of get exhausted and have to step away from the table for a little while, and they always come back. And it was intimated to me that this deal was going to get done. It's just a matter of time, and lo and behold, a week later, it gets done.
Well, Rowe's on mute right now. Let's see if we can unmute this mic. You choose to mute yourself.
Yeah, I'm an old man.
It's a well-oiled machine here. It's a well-oiled machine.
We always are.
Would you believe this is our second show, Ross? It's hard to wrap your head around.
This is going to be a disaster every week. It's just
hey, at least I have a drink. So
yeah. So what are we sipping on? What are we drinking on here?
This is a Maker's Mark. Just my old Maker's Mark. That's what I usually keep in my decanter. And then I have 2 decanters. One Maker's Mark, and the other I usually rotate with a little better stuff. But that's empty today, so I'm doing my my Makers with my my rock, or not my, well, yeah, it's a a whiskey ball, whatever.
Oh yeah,
kind of. Yeah. And I got my little Fleur de Lis glass. Look at there, isn't it nice?
I've got one of those pull-out drawers in my freezer, and every time I fill up my whiskey ball thing, and then I empty them in there, and you open it up, and they're just rolling around like everywhere. Yeah. I mean, there's like frozen waffles on top of them and everything, and they're just rolling around everywhere.
Nice. So, yes. Yeah. No, they're good, man. They're nice. I have a little rubber compartment that you pour them in, you keep them in, and stuff like that. And yeah, they're convenient.
Ross, I do want to get into kind of a little bit of your background here, but before we do that, I want to talk to you, since we cover the Dawgs and you're a national guy. I mean, just kind of looking back on this last season and even the season prior, from the national perspective, obviously we tell people all the time what the local perspective is, what the what the heartbeat around the team is in Athens. But from the national perspective, I guess, how do you view what Georgia's been able to do over these last couple of years?
Well, it's been remarkable. Really, you got to go back to 2017 or so, and you look at playing for, in 3 national championship games and winning 2, and playing in 4 SEC championship games, I guess, over that
4 or
stretch.
5, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite a run. And I don't too much use the dynasty term loosely, but they're certainly really close to a dynasty, if not already there. To win back-to-back championships is really, really difficult. It's only happened like 3 times in like 40 years or so, I want to say. And it's tough to do. And so I think that right now what Kirby has going is pretty incredible. And it's been said over and over again, and I know written about, but he's using the old Saban playbook, right? It's like, go get the best players and develop the best players, and to be better players, and honestly, just don't have them screw up too much on the field, and don't make too many mistakes. And I think what we saw this past year with Georgia and Kirby, I feel like Kirby for years was kind of painted as being fairly conservative, right, with his offensive game plan, at times not letting loose enough. But I feel like we saw him kind of break out of that this year, and I think all of us nationally kind of noticed that, and it's a big reason probably why they put up the numbers they did, as well as having a quarterback who's 38 years old. Also, that helped. So, but it's amazing to what they've done. This run will, and I'm sure it's not over. This run will go down in history for sure.
I think they need one in the next 2 or 3 years, another one in the next 2 or 3 years to get a dynasty status. Personally, I do want to. So, looking at the landscape, the transfer portal, NIL. We're talking. Georgia's got 2 national championships in the NIL era both years. Do you think that's maybe adds a little bit of a gold star to it? Maybe a little that, in your opinion, is it or are we too early in NIL and transfer portal for it to have presented that extra challenge?
Yeah, it seems a little early. Yeah, I mean, maybe not quite this past year, but I don't know. I do think it's kind of early. I feel like we're not going to see the true. I say not see the true impact of NIL until a year or two late. A year, 2 or 3 years into it, which is maybe next year, the year after. But then again, we've seen teams remake themselves and turn into competitors pretty quickly, right? USC is a great example, out there in California, and they got a bunch of transfers last year. LSU, who Georgia played in the SEC championship game, had like 18 transfers or something last year, including that quarterback. So we've seen a lot of teams remake, and Georgia, and y'all know the statistics better than I do, but they have rarely dipped their toe into the transfer portal, as they get so many good high school kids, right? That they just have to plug in every now and then, but it's not many. They don't need many, and that's been interesting to watch how different teams have used the transfer portal. But I think we're going to look back, honestly, and this is a much broader conversation, but I think we're going to look back on this time, this era, with a little bit of an asterisk. Not to say Georgia's 2 championships will ever be doubted. I know they won't, but just the era in general will probably, because we're in the middle ground of, I like to call it a purgatory between amateurism and professionalism. And one day here, pretty soon, we're going to get into just college athletics being professionalized fully or close to fully. Whether you believe in that or agree with that or not, that's where it's going, either employment status or revenue sharing with athletes. But right now, we have to take small steps there. And one of the steps was cost of attendance. Another step was NIL. And so I think we're in that kind of purgatory type era. So it's going to be interesting to look back on that years later and look at teams that excelled and teams that won championships during that stretch. And I think that stretch, especially for NIL, probably starts this year. We'll be 2 years in, and so it'll be interesting to watch.
Well, Rowe's still muted again, and I don't know if he's aware of that. But
well, I knew you had some background questions coming.
Well, no, yeah, I do. So one of the things, we love. Obviously, we're all here because we talk football and that's what we do. But one of the things that we really wanted to do on this show, Ross, was kind of get into people's backgrounds and talk about, you do the interviewing a lot of the times, but you don't get to. People may not know you behind the guy asking the question. So we want to ask the guys who ask the questions some questions. So, I guess just kind of take us back, like, obviously Sports Illustrated, doesn't get much bigger than that, but nobody starts out there. What's kind of the road? What's kind of your road to where you are now?
Yeah, I started as a beat writer, in the SEC. I graduated from Mississippi State. I guess I can go all the way back. And my dad, I got into just journalism in general, really through football. It wasn't through the journalism side. It was through sports. My dad was a high school football coach. And so I grew up on the high school bus and in the high school locker rooms in the Mississippi Gulf Coast and Louisiana Gulf Coast.
Did you play?
Being around. I tried.
Because for those of you who don't know Ross is a pretty big dude. You're what, 6'3", 6'4"?
No, I wasn't like that in high school. So
late bloomer, huh?
I was about 6 foot, about 150 pounds, 160 pounds in high school. And I couldn't catch and I couldn't run. And I was incredibly uncoordinated. So they put me on the offensive line, which, if you know football well enough, is 6 foot, 155-pound offensive lineman, probably not going to bode well.
Hell of a wing T pulling guard, dude.
Yeah, right. Yes, that's where that is kind of like what I played. I played guard, and we ran the football a lot, and I did not get on the field very much at all. I was like third or fourth string. So I played my sophomore and junior year, and then I started getting into golf pretty heavily my junior year, and kind of took to it really quickly and made the golf team. And so my senior year was kind of dedicated to golf. So I didn't play football my senior year, but I grew up around sports and grew up around football with my dad and wanted to be around the sport, and drifted toward keeping stats, which then led to writing high school stories for the local newspaper in Biloxi, Mississippi on the Gulf Coast. And that led to me going to Mississippi State and working for the campus newspaper there. And, I have the distinct pleasure of being at Mississippi State for the worst 4 years of Mississippi State football history, which is saying a lot. I got the last 2 years.
Who was that? Was it Sylvester Croom?
Well, I got the last 2 years of Sherrill and the first 2 years of Croom. Mississippi State won 11 games in 4 years. So it was fairly brutal, but it was a fun time. We had a blast. And so I went from there and actually had a news internship with the AP in Jackson, Mississippi, where my then girlfriend worked at the Clarion Ledger in Jackson. Then I left and I covered Auburn. That was my first sports writing job as a beat writer. I covered Coach Tommy Tuberville. My wife, oddly enough, full circle, covers Senator Tommy Tuberville. And then I moved back and we got married in Jackson, and I worked at the Clarion Ledger, did high schools and did Jackson State. Then we moved to Missouri together, and she worked for the St. Louis Post-Dispatch covering the Missouri legislature. I covered Mizzou for a couple of years. And then our last stop was Baton Rouge. She covered the Louisiana legislature for the Advocate in Baton Rouge, and I covered LSU football in the first couple of years, a little baseball too. We were down there for about 5-6 years, and then I got a job at SI, and covering national college football. 4 years ago, this coming May, I believe it'll be 4 years. So, or no, it'll be 5. Yeah, 5 years. Man, I don't know. Time flies. But yeah, it's been a long journey. And yeah, you're right. You don't start at SI. You know, I got noticed a lot for I think my coverage of LSU football, and Andy Staples, who is now at the Athletic, was at SI at the time, and
Right.
kind of put my name in a hat, so to speak, and got a call, and here I am almost 5 years later. Yeah, it's been 4.5 years.
Yeah, we're gonna have Andy on here in a couple, 2 or 3 weeks, and hopefully we can talk about all the barbecue joints across the SEC, because I know how into that is. Of course, I don't know. Andy's on that. He's lost a bunch of weight and is looking great. I know too. So I probably need to do what they're doing, whatever they're doing. Ross, what's been your favorite thing? Like, if you had to point to a moment, whether it's like, what's been your favorite thing about being a sports writer? I mean, it could be an event. I know you talked about the relationship you made with Mike Leach. I know you probably think about him a lot. What has been probably the greatest one thing that you've experienced or developed out of being a sports writer?
Well, I think, one of the greater things about my job is the travel and getting to see new places, getting to experience new places. Life is about experiencing new things. So going to different places, meeting different people, getting their thoughts, interpretation of things, seeing how other regions of the country live. It's really fun, and it's something that when I was growing up, I didn't do a lot. I didn't travel to really other places. For vacation, we went an hour down the beach to Pensacola, or an hour the other way to New Orleans or something. So we didn't get a whole lot. Didn't get to see a whole lot of the country. So that's been really cool. That's been one of the cool things, is the people you get to meet, and the places you see. And obviously, I've covered a lot of cool events and cool games. I mean, I covered the Masters last year, which was awesome. It was a great experience, and hope to do it again one day. I mean, it's outstanding, and
that meets every expectation, doesn't it?
It sure does. Yeah. I won the fan lottery in 2017, and took my dad. I just happened to get lucky and won the lottery. And
so that is possible. I didn't know.
Yes,
the person that's ever told that story.
I know. I got really lucky, man. I had started putting my name in for the lottery the year before. So the second year I won tickets. It was crazy. So I went for a Friday round, and it was incredible. It was an awesome experience. And then I got to cover it as a media member last year, and got to go in the media center, which is absurd, and just incredible experience. So things like that.
Don't you get to keep your placard from the?
Oh yeah. Well, you know what? It's on a placard. I just kept my credential.
Okay. Okay.
Which is like a it's a nice card, and it's got like an electric chip in it or something. Yeah. So the Augusta National still knows where I am, I guess. They're tracking me. But, really cool experience.
I've been in some great press boxes. I have to assume the food at the Masters press box is all time. I mean, it's got to be.
Yeah, and it's it'd be calling it a press box, right? Would do it disservice. It's a massive press palace. It's incredible. It's like nothing I've ever seen. The rumor is, they don't release a lot of info there. The rumor is they spent $30 to $50 million on it, and I believe it. It's just insane. And yeah, the food keeps coming. At the end of the day, they make an announcement after play, and you get cocktails and beer as well in the back. You get all the pimento cheese sandwiches.
I'd only get to do it once.
It's unbelievable. Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Well, by the time they carried me out of there on my face, I would only get to do it once. I don't know how much restraint I could show. I got to go for the first time this past year, and I went Monday, and it was the Monday. It was that Monday was the very first day that it had been completely opened back up. Like it was kind of limited, and man, like I don't know if the pro shop is always like this, but you couldn't move.
Yeah, it is.
It is.
You couldn't move. I bought Rusa a polo that I still haven't given to him. It's
Not feeling good about getting that.
Yeah, you'll get it soon. We'll see it in the Under Armour camp, and I'll get it to you. But the thing is I had it on this pedestal, man. I had it up there. Like I was worried on my way there. I was like, man, there's no way this place is going to meet expectations. This is, and it exceeded them somehow. It's I don't know, man. I don't know what they do there. I don't know if it's like some kind of little mist they hit you with when you walk in or something, but you just immediately fall in love with it.
I'm convinced it's the cell phone. I really am. I'm convinced it's everybody having to leave their cell phones outside.
Not having your cell phone, not distracted. That's right.
People are making eye contact. Everybody's smiling. Everybody's there enjoying a beautiful day and amazing golf. And I think that's really part of the thing. It's the one place on earth.
It is. It's part of the mystique. In it's like going back in time because there's not a lot of electric things on the course. There's the old school scoreboard that they change by hand. They've been the same scoreboard for decades. Those things are really cool. And then you have the sandwiches and the beer and all that stuff that's priced in a way that makes you forget briefly the absurd prices that we all now pay at stadiums and stuff. You can do a $3 sandwich or a $4 beer or something like that. So it felt to me like when I was walking in, it felt to me like I was just going back in time. We always talk about like time travel, and it's like this is how it was in 1960. Where on a golf course. It's really cool. Yeah, it's a great experience. If everybody can get to it. And it's not. I understand it's not cheap and it's not easy at all, but it's worth it.
So, last question for me, and let you go because obviously we're getting kind of late here. You got that Maker's Mark right there. I don't know if is it 47 or is it the regular?
It's regular.
Okay. Yeah, I like the regular more than I like the 47 anyway. I feel like the 47's got a little too much heat to it. But get a share drink with anybody in the sport, what sports writer, college football, the sports you cover, whatever. Who are you picking? Who are you just an hour, have a few drinks, couple hours, whatever. Who you got?
Well, I've done it, and it would be Mike Leach. You mentioned it earlier, right? Mike is he was the probably as different and unique as not just a coach, but human being that I've ever encountered. The night that my wife and I spent with his wife and him, we went to dinner with them, and then we had drinks. We spent like 8-9 hours with them, drinking and eating and talking and debating. And it was a blast. So he would be one. Of course, I've already done that. Maybe it was the ghost of Mike Leach. I would love to have.
What was the Pirates' favorite drink?
He would change up a bit, but that night I believe he was drinking Crown and water. He drank a lot of Crown and water that night. At dinner, he at one point, and I've written this, but at dinner. At one point, the server came by and he said, "Hun, I'll save you a trip. Bring me 2 next time." And she did. And so he drank 2. But that was a fun night. So, but he would change up because he would drink Tito's as well. And I think he would drink some weird stuff. Like he would do some weird mixture. So he'd drink vodka. Preferably Tito's with those like the dye, not the dye. What am I saying? The flavored squirt. Yeah. So he would do that, and he would drink some weird. Yeah, he would drink some weird things too. He would drink he would drink vodka in some kind of weird combination. It was like vodka and club soda, and it sounds terrible.
Yeah, it doesn't make much sense.
Well, I got one last one for you, Ross. I'm going to ask everybody this one. I asked Rowe this last week. In all your traveling that you've done, I certainly, it's easy for me to remember this one. What's the worst hotel room you've ever stayed in?
The worst hotel room. Oh man, one time
there was a panic. There was like a you revisited that for just a second. Like I think you saw all of them at one time.
Yeah.
Your voice kind of shook a little bit.
Yeah, so I was in Tuscaloosa. I was covering the Iron Bowl, and I decided to get, which you can rarely get, is a hotel room in Tuscaloosa. I had my dad with me. He wanted to go to the Iron Bowl. He had never been. So I'm like, you know what? I've got dad with me. We're going to stay in a Tuscaloosa hotel. And if you're going to stay in a Tuscaloosa hotel the night of the Iron Bowl and the night before, you're going to stay at not a nice hotel because either the other ones are all sold out or they're like $500 a night and up. So we stayed at an Econo Lodge, and it was rough. I can distinctly remember us being in the room, and we left the room, and the maid, the service member, whatever you want to call it, was like outside the room, and I told her, hey, we just need some fresh towels. Like, you don't have to do anything else. And we came back to the room, and everything had been done. The beds were away. She did the whole room, but across the bed, pretty clearly, was a stain of some sort that wasn't there previously. So I'll always remember that, the Econo Lodge in Tuscaloosa, in the stain left maybe or maybe not by the maid and whoever joined her in our room at night while we were gone.
Yeah.
So there you go.
You don't know what? Listen, I'm convinced nobody who does this job or travels. I don't think anybody forgets the worst. I really don't.
Yeah. Yep. It's hard. It's hard not to have a few bad experiences. I've been having actually, I don't know what's been up with Marriott lately. I'm guessing it is the post-COVID, just the lack of housekeeping, kind of, so to speak. But literally, like pretty much every hotel room I've stayed in, the bathtub or shower definitely has the remnants left from the past person who was in there. Yeah.
I haven't run into that, but I have racked up some points here lately of being like, no, you don't have to come do my turn down service. I'll take 5,000 points or however many
absolutely.
they offer. Yeah. So
I agree.
That's helped me. That's helped me rack it up. So that's been a perk. I think Roos was talking. I don't know what you said about your worst hotel room. I had stayed in a Roadway Inn in Boulder, Colorado one time. And to complicate things, there were about 11 of us. And in a 2-bedroom, you know how it was, college, man. That's why it goes. But
right,
I haven't stayed in. I stayed in a bad one in Memphis for the Liberty Bowl. I mean, if you're having to cover the Liberty Bowl, you should just, you can't stay at the Peabody. So that one was pretty bad too. I don't remember what yours was, Roos.
Mine was in Houma, Louisiana.
Oh yeah, Red Roof Inn.
The Red Roof Inn in Houma, Louisiana. Blood all over the sheets. The hair caught on fire. I got in at like 3 a.m. and I had to be out by 7. I didn't want to go fight them, so I just put the comforter back over the blood covered sheets and slept.
Oh God.
There's a reason this man named Jake Roos right here will find an Airbnb in a heartbeat.
I'm a big Airbnb guy. For that reason.
Ross, thanks so much for coming on, man. We appreciate it. And break all the stories from here on out.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, man. Very cool.
Yeah. Love Ross, man. Ross is a good dude. Funny story about Ross. I would have told it while he was on here, but it just kind of crossed my mind. We were in LA for the national championship game, and Brandon Adams and I, me, Jordan Hill, Rusty Mansell, we all went out to eat in Hollywood. And we had a good dinner. We went to Frolic Room, Pantages Theater, kind of walked around Hollywood, saw John Wayne Starr, all that stuff. And then we came back to the hotel and kept the party going. We're upstairs paying for drinks at the hotel bar while they're giving them away for free in the hotel media hospitality room, but who cares? So when we got tired of paying for them, we said, hey, we're going to go down there. And there was Ross, I think maybe wearing that hat or another one similar to it on backwards. With a gleam in his eye, told me, they're closed, dude. They're closed. I've never been so sad in my life. But what just a phenomenal dude. I've known him since he was covering LSU, and been to SEC spring meetings with him a few times. And man, he's a blast.
All right, let's bring it home. Jake on Jake session. Quick question tonight.
Session.
Yeah. The Jake on Jake session. Well, that's what we're going to call this piece. We wanted to keep this after last week. I thought it was a lot of fun. So we're going to do one question for each other every week. Just something random, apropos of literally nothing. You want to start? You want me to go?
I'll go.
All right, go for it.
What are your thoughts on ayahuasca tea?
Oh, boy. Very intrigued by the idea.
Me too.
There's a lot of research out there that really promotes like healing from depression, people who have alcoholism, drug dependence. I really encourage people to go watch Ron White. He was on on Two Bears, One Cave, right?
Yeah, with Tom Segura
his interview on it was very impactful, I thought. And for him to have been drinking as much as he was, and for him to have kind of moved away from that and attributing it to that, man, I don't know, man. There's something to that.
I don't know if he attribute it. Maybe that made it easier on him. But I remember listening to that whole interview, and the stop and drinking
involved, right?
Do what now?
I think he got hypnotized at first, and then he, but that was in preparation to go do the ayahuasca.
Right. Yeah. So he spoke about, obviously I'm a huge Ron White fan. I mean, I don't know how you can't be. But he spoke about how the stop and drinking thing was kind of a decision. He saw some people basically, 5 years down the road and, on vacation or something. And he was like, man, these people are making fools of themselves. I do not want to look like that. And he said if he could go back and live his life again, he'd drink a little slower so that he could keep the drinking going a little longer.
Yeah.
No, I just
on my dry out week.
Listen, I am fully intrigued by ayahuasca tea. I can go ahead and tell you right now, there's a 95% chance that I'm going to be too chicken shit to do it, but I might, one of these days.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but it sounds like a job, it sounds like a full undertaking. I mean, I've watched that Kentucky ayahuasca.
You need to be prepared. You need to be prepared to evacuate one way or the other. If it's either coming out the front or the back. And
bro.
That would be some wild shit, no doubt, in a very literal sense. All right, mine for you tonight, Rowe. If you had to do it over again, let's say no kids involved, right? But you don't go the journalism. Yes. You don't go the journalism route. What else intrigued you? What else might you have majored in college?
Not high school teacher,
right? Yep.
Obviously, I really would have liked to give the coaching route a real opportunity. I think, all right, I've said this before. I worked with Mike McDonald, right? And Mike had like and I say this about Palmer when it comes to this, he had a Labrador Retriever and a tennis ball quality to football that you just can't teach. And I feel like at some point in my life, I kind of had that too. And I kind of by the time I got a chance to coach and everything, I had so much stuff going on that I get a chance to really focus on it. I would like to have given it a shot and maybe tried to go the Glenn Schumann route, because God knows I wasn't talented enough to go play it and some coach to be like, man, you played for me, come coach for me. No, I mean, I wasn't anywhere near good enough for that. But, I think I would have liked to have maybe tried to take the Mike McDonald or the Glenn Schumann route of, going to grad school and working my way up, drawing up play cards and, getting cussed at for no good reason, for a dummy being in the wrong spot, instead of getting cussed at by Mark Rick for taking photos, that kind of thing. Cause that happened too, by the way. And then he made me, took a picture with me the next day and made me like it, which, I do have a lot of respect and admiration for that man. But I shouldn't.
I've never seen you so flustered. I thought you were gonna burn Butt's mirror down when Mark Rick.
I was so angry, dude. I was so angry because I wasn't doing anything wrong. Like my manual focus, got the thing on the thing. There was a manual focus and autofocus, and I had flipped it to manual focus, and I couldn't get any photo in focus. And I'm turning around. I don't even know which way I'm looking. And I'm looking, and I'm pointed at the ground, and Mark Rick just starts yelling at me, just getting after me. So don't think that man don't have any fire. He did then in 2014 or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would have liked to have tried that out. Another thing, I've always been pretty good at math. And I think I could have got into the whole, analytics, business analytics type thing and gotten into stat. And, I've had some friends that went to grad school and got grad degrees in stat, and man, they're really successful. Shout out Nate, shout out Bogus. Two of my best friends that, can call on them all the time. And, they're extremely smart dudes and, have been really successful. So something like that probably, but I will always wonder if I had played my cards right on the coaching front. Could I be coaching somewhere? Could I be, I wouldn't say I would be where Mike McDonald or Glenn Schumann are at. I don't have near a high enough opinion of myself, but I don't know. Maybe I could be an analyst at Grand Valley State or something.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I think I might have gone the law route.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think because you get to combine
a man that runs afoul of the law as much as you do.
I think you get to combine, the elements of English, which I obviously enjoy, and then you get some of the theatrics too. So I think that those were kind of the two things that I went into college looking for. So
I just pictured Jay Groose as a trial lawyer.
I mean,
if the gloves don't fit, you must have quit.
Exactly, dude. That kind of
incredible.
Yeah, that kind of shit would be awesome. You can't tell me, dude. Johnny Cochran was a national phenomenon because of shit like that. I grew up watching that stuff, man, and I was like, "This is cool. There's a lot of fun to be had here." You can't tell me Johnny Cochran was not having fun while he was doing that stuff.
Yeah, you're right about the law route. I mean, the law school wouldn't be fun because I hate school. But yeah, dude, I've had a lot of fun tonight again.
No doubt.
50 minutes flew by.
Thank you for coming on again. Really appreciate him, and looking forward to. We're lining people up for week in, week out.
It might just be us again next week. For some reason, some people just cannot come on February 20th. A lot of people have been like, I can do the next week. So hope we're going to keep trying, but it might just be us again next week. Might have to get something going for you.
That's cool. We can make that happen. So appreciate everybody tuning in this evening. Bark After Dark. Catch us next Monday, 9 p.m. Every Monday, 9 p.m. We'll see you. Thanks, guys.